Well, hello everybody, and welcome to this Thursday night game. It is Blacklist versus Goon Squad. We are getting ready to get into draft for game number 1. I'm HorizonCasts alongside Matrixsenpai. We are going to be your casters for tonight, keeping you company as we cast these two games. Goon Squad sitting at 1-1, Blacklist sitting at a completely defeated scoreline 0-2 at Matrix. Both these teams, they want to win. Blacklist, though, they need to get one. They want to try and stay in contention for playoffs.
Yeah, for sure. And Goon Squad suffering kind of a surprising defeat at the hands of Disciples of Reese. Definitely interested to see how they bounce back in this next game. Blacklist, obviously, like you mentioned, has not picked up a game yet. Definitely looking for their first win, and so they might be a little bit hungrier than Goon Squad, but we'll have to find out.
Yeah, I think with the way the Goon Squad came out in the first week, their performance was really, really good. I was actually really excited to see where this squad was going to end up as time went on. As we kind of go over just a little bit of a check, because Goon Squad, they won their first game against Looking for Top, and then as you stated, they dropped that series yesterday, or sorry, not yesterday, but last week versus NPM. And yeah, I think it was a little bit surprising given like how strong the performance was in week 1, but that's the nature of this division. And one of the things that I think has been kind of fun to talk about is, we really only have 2 teams that are undefeated in the standings. Everyone else has been fairly close. There's 2 teams sitting at the bottom, obviously, that have also not won games. Deathfire Grass and Blacklist have not won a game yet, have not won a series. And so I think, kind of looking at the expectations for this, I think Blacklist, they really want to start to turn around this momentum, get a win on the board, and Goon Squad obviously want to correct from yesterday. So I think it's going to be a combination of not only who wants it more, but who is coming into this series more prepared.
Yeah, for sure. And when I went into the Blacklist VC for checks for the game, they were definitely talking already about their draft plan, about what they wanted to see, what they wanted to ban away. And we are getting into draft here, and so we'll see how much of that preparation comes out here in this first game. Goon Squad taking the red side, while Blacklist will be taking the blue side. So we'll see where the priority lies for Blacklist, if they want to take a strong scaling ADC early or a hypercarry or something like that, or if they have a different priority in mind.
Yeah, I think with a lot of the other games that we've been watching throughout multiple divisions, it's been kind of this focus on, what does top lane want to do? What is going to be the bot priority? Obviously, Smolder has been that big pick that's been thrown around a lot. And so I fully expect that if that pick makes it through this first phase of bans, that Blacklist will at least try and pick that up. I think it'd be a good place to start. And then it'll just kind of be, what does Goon Squad want to respond with? As we're starting to see the first couple bans, Blacklist already trying to take away some of that die potential that Goon Squad may have wanted to lean towards. The Nocturne, the Kai'Sa going to be taken away. And then Goon Squad trying to take some of those easier top laners away, specifically that Tryndamere and the Scion. And so interested to see what they'll round out this first round of bans with.
Yeah, a lot of bot lane focus here for the side of Blacklist, and I think we can all acknowledge that Goon Squad, Tyler is definitely the carry of that team. Smolder not banned away for the side of Goon Squad. It will be a complete top lane focus for their side, and that definitely signals to me that they think that the top laner of Blacklist is the weakest link, and they're trying to ban it out as much as possible. That being said, we should note that it is a sub. Low Life Fields will not be playing tonight. Will be Booty Muncher in that top lane. And Blacklist not... Oh, okay, never mind. They baited us a little bit. It will be the Smolder first pick for the side of Blacklist. And this is something that I think we've talked about a lot. You really, on red side, have to ban away some of those prio picks if you don't want to see them or play against them.
Yeah. To me, right now, Goon Squad, this is signaling that they're actually not concerned about the Smolder going through as a first pick, and that they have belief in their bot lane, which I think is well founded. Goon Master himself has been really, really good in that bot side. Has been very, very aggressive. Has had some really great team fighting across both series. Obviously last week wasn't necessarily the greatest example of that and how they lost, but I think the potential's still there. And so to me, this is Goon Squad saying that, hey, we're confident, we're not worried about the Smolder, we've got an answer to it, and we'd rather pinch this top lane pull and win through that. As Yasuo going to be the selection here. Interested to see what they want to pair alongside that. They need something to set it up. Diana's still on the board. Would be a nice little combo, but they're instead going to go towards the Braum. They could lock in Ashe with that later, or potentially go for a little bit more of a traditional ADC, something like the Sivir, possibly the Caitlyn that's still up.
Yeah, definitely will be interested to see. Of course, Braum pairs well with Yasuo, being able to knock up multiple members on the side of Blacklist. And we'll have to see if they want to pick something to knock even more members up, maybe like Malphite or something like that. They did not ban the Pantheon though, so we're going to have to be a little bit careful because Carson will be vulnerable to that potential pick. Morgana will be paired with the Smolder, and I'm not the biggest fan of Morgana with Smolder. I really like the Nami pairing, which is still available, but Blacklist opting to go for something that can protect the Smolder from the Yasuo.
I think this would be a bad pivot for Blacklist to try and put the Morgana in the mid lane versus the Yasuo, given just the way his kit is. Morgana is going to get perma pushed in that lane, plus Windwall kind of blocks her main kit setup with the Dark Binding. So I think like we should just be seeing it go towards the bot side. I agree. I'm not necessarily the biggest fan of this Morgana, especially given what Goon Squad have already drafted. Windwall plus Braum Unbreakable gives them a tremendous amount of denial on Morgana CC, and she doesn't necessarily have the best peeling for the Smolder because she's not the most mobile support in the world. Now, the trade-off is obviously if you do land a Dark Binding on someone, then it's easy setup to kill that person. But I think that Blacklist would either have been better served to go the Nami like you highlighted, or maybe even picked a tank support for themselves just to have that additional non-committal engage and that peel for the Smolder. So I think Blacklist maybe not choosing the best champion in that scenario.
Yeah, definitely will have some good setup with the Amumu alongside of it. And then, of course, Smolder can just call Mom over the top. Morgana can stand in the middle of multiple people and continue that CC chain. So we'll have to see. But we'll be interested to see if a Silas ban comes out here for the side of Goon Squad. That would indicate to me that they are looking for a potential Malphite play. But Jinx picked up here for Goon Master, and definitely one of his signature champions, something that we know he can carry on. So kind of a scaling battle back and forth of who's going to get to that critical breakpoint first, who's going to be able to control a lot of these team fights.
Yeah. Something I think is interesting with what Goon Squad have already drafted is even though they're going to want to draft to protect the Jinx just a little bit more, I actually think it's going to be difficult for Blacklist to get close to the Jinx just because you have to walk through the Yasuo and the Braum who make it really, really difficult to move past them in a team fight. Yasuo, obviously with a tremendous amount of damage, has that inbuilt synergy with the Braum knockup on Glacial Fissure. And so for Blacklist, it's like, okay, you need a more reliable engage tool to knock down the Jinx or the Yasuo. Amumu is a decent response to that, but again, like, that situational CC with the bandage toss can be blocked by Unbreakable, can be blocked by the wind wall. And with Udyr coming through, you're already starting to have some difficulties in the kind of skirmishing and the team fighting power. Udyr is traditionally very oppressive in the jungle, and so I want to see Blacklist make a good adaptation to what they're seeing come out from Goon Squad right now.
Yeah, they are going to pick up the rest of their lineup here. Udyr obviously not giving nearly as much knock-up. The Goon Squad do elect to ban out 5 top laners, so a lot of focus on that top lane side, and I almost would have liked to have seen a pick in the first round for top lane, or at least a flex pick into that top lane pick for the side of Blacklist, given how much pressure Goon Squad has put on this top side already. But it is going to be the Vygar, and this is an interesting pick towards the mid lane, I think. Definitely good at controlling the Yasuo. Could make things difficult for the Jinx, but Udyr, of course, having that unstoppable, will be able to walk out. Will still give a stack, but will not be CC'd by that cage.
Let's go through the available top lane picks. Obviously, Ornn is available, so is Gnar, Urgot, Mordekaiser, all still available. So it's just what does Blacklist want to get? Is the Garen going to be the flex there? Ooh, we saw a Garen game last night. That did not go so well for a certain Silvermane squad. A certain top laner tried to ego that one down, and that did not work out well. This Garen abusable. I fully expect to see something like a Gnar or a Mordekaiser come out, something that's going to be able to control this Garen. Even Urgot wouldn't be the worst in the world, even though yesterday wasn't the best example of that matchup. So curious now what Goon Squad want to pick. I mean, the world's their oyster. They have a lot of top lane picks. Is this going to be Darius? All right, so we're getting a little bit of Demacia versus Noxus matchup in that top side. Matrix, final thoughts?
You know, I really like what Goon Squad has done here, and Garen obviously wants to kind of split push to create that pressure on the side lanes, but with a Darius, if he falls behind, it's going to be really difficult. Even if he gets ahead, Udyr is going to make his life absolutely miserable on those side lanes. So Goon Squad having a lot of good fight potential with the Udyr, with the Darius, of course, with the Jinx and the Yasuo. Braum just kind of there to support all of those champions. but also a decent amount of support from Blacklist and some good scaling as well. So I think Goon Squad need to be a little bit careful once this game gets closer to that 30-35 minute mark. That Smolder and that Vygar are going to be doing a lot of damage, and there really is only one tank on the side of Goon Squad, and it's going to take him quite a bit longer to scale up. So that Yasuo wind wall going to get a lot of value for the side of Goon Squad, but need to be careful when it comes to that late game.
The one thing I'm also worried about from the side of Goon Squad is the fact that they're almost entirely an AD champion. Udir's really not going to be building that much magic damage. He's going to be building either for speed or tankiness. Is a great duelist there, but is not necessarily like the AP champion that you think about in that jungle. In that jungle role, and so I'm a little bit worried in terms of what the Amuma is going to be able to build itemization wise, because he could just go straight tank. So can Garen to a certain degree if he wants to build kind of this mix of a bruiser slash fighter build. You can get some of those inherent items like getting a Sterix Gate, punch Black Cleaver, or whatever, to kind of punch through any of the inbuilt armor that Braum or Darius will have. I will say though, in terms of a long team fight, I think both teams are fairly even. Smolder, obviously in a long team fight likes that he's able to shred from very far, plus he has the execution threshold. Vygar as well likes to be able to do that damage over time, but so does Goon Squad. Darius is one of these sustained bleed champions that's just able to heal up over and over again, kind of throughout multiple little segments, as long as he's able to get on multiple champions and get that. I think it's not Whirling Death. I'm forgetting what it's called, but that inbuilt sustain that he has, I think it's the E, and the lifesteal he gets from that. Plus, Yasuo also likes a long team fight. So there's plenty of opportunities for Goon Squad to win in those moments. Just again, as it comes with anything, it's piloting the composition and obviously executing on the game plan.
Yeah, I agree. And I think the critical lanes to watch are going to be mid lane and top lane. Obviously, Smolder getting ahead early would be disastrous for the side of Goon Squad, but the critical lanes, like I said, are going to be that mid lane and top lane. If they get ahead for the side of Blacklist, it's going to be very difficult for Goon Squad to be able to fight some of these team fights. They're going to need to respond to the pressure that Garen creates on those side lanes. But if Goon Squad gets ahead, Yasuo can definitely make things difficult for the side of Blacklist, and Darius can survive for so long in the middle of a team fight, even if he gets CC'd up. So we'll have to see. It's going to come down to those solo lanes to really carry this mid game.
I'm curious as well, this bot lane matchup before we get onto the riff for this game number one. Who's going to have the power there? Because I think Smolder Morgana, at least on paper, I think they'll have pretty good push, but then also Jinx with access to the rockets is able to push the wave a little bit more efficiently, kind of like a Tristana. And I think that's going to be the big part of this game, is where these junglers want to get involved, because they both have easy ways to gank. Obviously, Mumu with Bandit Touch can, make up quite a bit of distance, but Udyr having access to that early ult slot can put down quite a bit of damage. And so I think it's going to be largely to positioning. I think whoever over pushes, I think, is going to invite that gank and probably end up losing that matchup. And so I think for both of these teams, they want to keep that bot lane state as even as they possibly can until they have their junglers there to support them and then look to push out, because I think any over aggression is going to get heavily punished.
Yeah, I totally agree. I will be interested to see which direction these junglers choose to path. I think putting some pressure on top side could be good for the side of Ronit. The Garen taking the Ignite early in that matchup, but of course wanting to get that Smolder head. So really he has two kind of side lanes to play for. Udyr not nearly as aggressive in that top side, but bot lane definitely wanting to put that Smolder behind, wanting to get that Jinx fed early. And Flame Dude, if he can land those Qs, it's going to make life very difficult for that Smolder as well.
Let's talk about this mid lane matchup for a little bit while we're waiting to load onto the rift, because I know you were talking about earlier Vygar, a really good champion in terms of trying to control where Yasuo wants to go in terms of that pathing, and then having the lane control, especially once he reaches level 3. You have access to the full kit, you have access to the event horizon, you can sort of pin Yasuo where you want him to, especially if you get a gank going. But I'm curious, Yasuo, a very mobile champ, if he's able to get the shove in, what does that do for the pressure bot lane?
Definitely could roam bot lane a little bit faster with the Udyr and could cause a lot of issues for the bot lane of Blacklist. But I think that Vygar really wants to just, kind of farm up, get those stacks, and the wind wall makes it a little bit more difficult, but he will be able to get the push, I think, a little bit early over the Yasuo. So we'll have to see. He did take both mid laners taking the Ignite here, which is very interesting. Typically, we see teleport at least coming out from the Vygar. So I'm definitely curious to see how this ends up going in the mid lane. I think that it's really going to come down to how Antibiotics plays with this R around the wind wall. Obviously, the cage and the I forget what Vigar W is, but both of those abilities not blocked by the wind wall, but the critical ones, the Q and the R, definitely will be, and that could make life difficult for getting these stacks in the mid lane.
Yeah. Well, since we have even more time, let's go towards the top lane. Darius Garen. This is actually not a matchup that we see all that often because I think one of these champs is definitely not like the other. Darius, we've seen from time to time being able to take over team fights, become a split-pushing threat, and then just a general nuisance on the Rift. Garen sometimes occupies that role, but not when Darius is on the Rift at the same time. So I'm curious to your thoughts as to how that matchup will go.
I'm actually not really a top laner, so I haven't seen this matchup very often, but I do know that Garen has quite a bit of sustain passively in his kit, whereas Darius really needs the some of his abilities to land, and so it's going to come down to how safe does Philly Rat play on that top side? How aggressively does Booty Muncher play on that top side? Is he able to land those Qs, get some health back, or is Philly Rat going to play more back until his jungler comes up, let the lane push in, make things more difficult for Booty Muncher here on this top side?
Well, Matrix has accurately laid it out for us. BLT, Goon Squad, onto the Rift, game number 1. And a lot, I think, at least feels like it's riding on the line for both these teams. Obviously, BLT, you do not want to go down 0-3 in series play if you can avoid that. The Goon Squad sitting at 500 right now. Obviously, another win would make them feel a lot better, especially with the way that Enigmatic in NPM has been playing in this league. Both of those teams undefeated. And so I think if you can get yourself at least in contention, you know, give yourself more opportunities to get towards playoff, it's going to feel good.
Yeah, Biotics definitely plays Vigar. I can tell by the way he's positioning these minions in the mid lane. Definitely like to see the early double stack. Trying to get as many of those minions as you can with that Q early. Misery making some very aggressive plays. Does miss the Q though in this mid lane. Booty taking quite a bit of damage in this top lane as well. Does elect to take the W first on Darius, which is good for his mana pool and does allow him to shove a little bit faster than the Garen, but we'll be curious to see how that works out for him a little bit later.
I'll be a little less concerned in that sustained matchup for Booty Muncher just whenever he has access to the hemorrhage. Or not, sorry, when he has access to the full stacks of Decimate. That ability that allows him to kind of sustain there. I keep having to refresh my knowledge of the Darius abilities because we don't see this champion all that often. But having access to that it helps a lot in terms of the sustain. And so even though he does have a mana consumption thing that he has to be worried about as far as using his skills, just in overall trading in that lane, it becomes a little bit more efficient. Especially now that he has access to Apprehend and he can just pull Garen in anytime he wants to. But Garen's
now,
also...
this is interesting. I do want to note here, Killer Watermelon is invading. Oh, we get Misery.
Gonna get stunned up. That Braum passive. Gonna make sure locks him down. Zap slows him even more. And now Carol trying to walk out of here. Goon Master is in a frenzy. Throws out the emote just to let him know. Rocket to the back. Goon Squad with the early first blood. We're gonna replay that one in just a second.
Yeah, definitely misposition from the side of Misery on that Morgana, and not what you want to see if you're in the scaling matchup. Misery really needs to play safe and not go for these early fights. If you land something, great, but you don't. You need to respect that you don't have that cooldown anymore and play safe.
Yep. So in this replay, we're going to see some kind of aggressive positioning from Carol from Misery Loves as the camera goes back to that bot lane. So you see them over pushing there, which is exactly what Goon Squad wants. And Misery, level 2, doesn't really have the ability to sustain all the damage that's coming out from Goon Master and from Flame. And so landing that Braum passive makes setting that up easy. And as we're going to go back to live, Antibiotics is going to get the kill on to currently Gooning. And so they will be 1-for-1 there, but obviously Goon Squad happy to have that first blood. I hate going into a replay and having stuff happen on the Rift.
I know, right? And we also missed in the jungle, the Udyr did invade and did steal away that blue buff from Ronit on that Amumu. And that is going to hurt. Definitely Amumu can sustain a decent amount, but really wants to be able to cry as much as possible on those camps.
That is
going to...
It's a literal cry about a situation.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a literal cry about a situation. It's like I stole your blue buff. What are you gonna do? Cry? And
A good identification from Killer Watermelon, but it does lead to that kill in the mid lane for Antibiotics and Ronit.
yeah, good little timing play there. Ooh, I like how heavily Booty managed to stack that wave. That is a nice juicy wave that's going to be sitting underneath the turret. Zanny will be able to clear most of that, so he won't be going down too much XP or gold, but still great. I think great little macro play there for the side of the Darius, which is what you like to see. Other also importantly too, in that mid lane where Antibiotics and Ronit were able to get that gank off, you also had to blow the flash. That is at least a little bit of in-build safety for Antibiotics, knowing that he has his flash and the Yasuo does not, knowing that he can look to make an aggressive play or that he will be safe if the Yasuo tries to do something at least a little bit aggressive. And so that's kind of delaying this timer or extending this timer where Antibiotics will continue to be safe. Ronit is here going to get the bandage toss on a Flame Dude who has the flash, manages to get out. Ronit's position exposed, but they do get a little bit of pressure. Not sure it was necessarily worth it for Ronit if they didn't have the kill pressure there, but will at least get a summoner. Does get the flash out of the Braum. So look to see them potentially do something about that here in just a minute, as Antibiotics has the level lead over currently Gooning, so Yasuo needs to be careful, but Antibiotics also has long cooldowns. And so trading out of this Yasuo, not so easy, and now the currently Gooning has access to the ultimate. Last breath, he'd love to hit it off another Tornado, stack up nice and clean, but won't commit to it just yet. Dash for Tornado. If that hits, that's going to be Final Breath coming out, but it won't. Antibiotics, I don't like how close he's getting to this. This is asking for trouble. If he hits this Tornado, he's going to follow up with Ultimate, and Antibiotics will die.
Yeah, for sure. And Antibiotics also not having a whole lot of mana here, trying to collect the rest of this wave, but needs to be careful because Killer Watermelon is in the area and can potentially look for a dive. Could be very difficult for Antibiotics. Does have Flash, but really does not want to give up this advantage against the Yasuo early.
No. Well, I mean, the other thing is, too, is, you know, this Vigar is going to take a little while to come on. The items that this Vigar wants to build, they're definitely not cheap. I think is probably going to try and go towards that Rod of Ages first thing, just to get some of that inbuilt scaling going, so that you can start to stack that. And that takes a while for that item to really become useful. And then in addition to all the other items that Vigar wants to build, this is a very, very expensive champion to expensive champion to have in the mid lane. Versus Yasuo, like some very easy itemization. Like Yasuo hits that one item power spike and then starts team fighting, and then it just feels like the game runs away. Now, the trade-off there is that Yasuo does eventually fall off in terms of itemization. I feel like once he reaches 3 items, it's kind of like as bad as it's going to get. Versus Vigar, it's like this ever-present thing you have to be worried about. But that period where Vigar is going to be this just nuke that's able to delete everybody off the face of the planet for the side of Goon Squad, that moment is very far off.
Yeah, and a couple of interesting things to note here in this mid lane. Number one is that Vigar does not typically build... Ooh, we got a little bit of action here on the bottom side, but not a whole lot to follow up.
It's a problem.
Yeah. But the point I was going to make here, kind of in this mid lane, is that a lot of action going on.
Yep, flash for flash. That's going to be the Demacia Justice coming out. Zanny wins that 1v1. So the Darius not feeling too good right now as Glacial Fissure's going to miss. Mom will get blocked by the Unbreakable Goon Master trying to walk out of this one as he does not have ult to commit. That's going to be the Braum being given over as well. Nice micro flash for Goon Master, but will drop here. Ronit, all he has to do is be close. Misery Flash, not sure he needed to do that. Double kill in the bot lane. BLT, they're a rocking and a rolling into this early game.
Yeah, 4-1, and will be about a K up in gold. And just to go back to what I was saying here, Vigar can actually currently build the Luden's Echo in that mid lane, and will give him a little bit more online time. He won't be quite as tanky, and so I actually do like the Roa build here for this particular game, especially given how much damage the Udyr, the Yasuo, the Jinx, and the Darius want to do. But on the other side of it, Carson opting for these early Gluttonous Greaves, and I really do not like this particular build. I understand what you're trying to go for here, but Yasuo and Yone both benefit so much from the attack speed boots that it's almost imperative that you build them on these champions, and so building anything else is essentially griefing your team.
All right, we're going to get a replay of that action in the bot lane. Matrix, break it down for us what we saw down there.
In the bot lane, some very good moves as our camera hopefully moves over. Pretty much are getting killed in the top lane, but the miss coming out from the Braum is absolutely critical. Does not gives them so much time. And then this bandage toss just out of range, a good flash from Goon Master on to the Amumu. Misery flashing forward is mostly just a zoning cue, but the 2 kills on that Smolder are going to be the most critical part of this replay. Smolder getting incredibly accelerated in this early game, and we need to be really, or if you are the side of Goon Squad, you need to be really careful, because Jinx being 1-1, that's great. And the Smolder has not been able to get as much farm as he would like, but he did get a lot of stacks in that fight, and it's not looking good.
Speaking of not looking good, this top lane matchup for the side of Goon Squad starting to look increasingly, I'd say, unfavorable for the side of Booty Munchie there. And I'd like to see an Udyr make a gank up there just to relieve some of this pressure, because one of these things that we talked about is, you know, generally speaking, we kind of favor the Darius, at least for the most part in some of these team fighting situations, and largely in the 1v1 as long as the matchup is even, as an Antibiotic's going to manage to hit a very cheeky event horizon. That was placed just so perfectly where it almost didn't visually show up over the wall, so I actually like that little tech there. But I'm starting to get increasing worried about this top lane matchup, because Garen, left to his own devices, kind of becomes unmanageable, especially if he has a lead, which is definitely what Zanny has right now. And so I think Goon Squad would like to do something about that. But maybe they're going to look to the bot lane instead. Goon Master going to be getting down the kill on a Misery Love, is going to go in a frenzy. Goon Master wants to finish this off. His Vanitage not going to last just yet. Manages to get it underneath the turret. Double kill's going to get denied from Goon Master. Now they're going to chase this Braum all the way out. Rona, he'll be able to throw a Bandage Toss those down the Smite just to slow him up a little bit. Will Flame be able to get to safety? Will, in fact, so the Mumu will call it off. It's a 1-for-1 in the end, but quite a bit more invested from Goon Squad there than BLT.
Yeah, the flash from Rona was absolutely insane. He is going to wish he had that, though. He's in a very rough position and will get stunned up by the Udyr and will just fall. Yeah. I think a little greedy to go for that. A little greedy. Especially as you know your ADC is recalling, but I see the vision. Just not quite what you want, unfortunately.
Right. Yeah, Misery needs to kind of walk on out of this one. Is going to land the Dark Binding onto the Braum just to throw down a little extra damage, but there will be no Dragon Steel here as Goon Master now trying to see if he can get yet another kill on a Misery. Zap's going to land. Dark Binding buys him a little bit of space, but remember, Goon Master, he's got quite a bit of range on that Jinx. But yeah, to highlight what you were just saying, I think
unfortunately doesn't have that Super Mega Death Rocket, though, so...
I think Ronit, though, I think as you were highlighting earlier, like very, very greedy to go for that dragon. Just on timing alone, like, you know, you don't have an ADC there to help you. The support for the enemy team is still up. Plus, you don't necessarily know the rotations from the Udyr and the Yasuo, and the fact that they're not showing on vision should be enough of a warning sign for you to not go for that drag. So I think a bit of a misplay there.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think that Drake is just not possible there. As much as you may want it in that particular instance, it's just not gonna work out for this Amumu, and does get punished the way that we expect. Antibiotics, though, really punishing this mid pick, and I'm a little surprised. I really thought that Yasuo was supposed to be kind of the signature pick for Carson, but this performance is not what you really want to see, especially into a scaling laner.
Well, maybe the signature picks only count for the accounts that they're on, because Carson had a little bit of a whoopsie with his main account, so we'll be playing on this ult. So maybe the Yasuo was only good on the main account. You know, maybe it's just one of those things where you gotta find a new main. Speaking of getting some help, though, Glacier Fizz are gonna come down. Not gonna find a lot off that Will Goon Squad. Something I want to highlight is how much of a CS lead Zanny actually has in this top side versus this Darius. It's a 2-level advantage, or was a 2-level advantage a minute ago, but like the itemization's in a really good spot right now, and I'm starting to get worried about where this Darius is going to be once we start to reach the 15 to 20 minute mark, because you're kind of going to rely on him to supplement some of your damage in some of these team fights. And so if he's behind and Zanny's not, like, I guess the question is, hold on, Final Breath going to come out, Antibiotics flashing away. Goon is going to block the ultimate there, but Killer Watermelon going to follow up, make sure the Vigard goes down. The investment making its way there. Nice for currently going to pick that one up. I thought for sure that Killer Watermelon would have that kill, but I guess not.
Yeah, I thought so as well, but also kind of awkward. Oh, Killer Watermelon too far underneath the turret. Takes 2 turret shots, and that is enough to take him down.
Hate to see it.
But yeah, a little bit... awkward. Oh, Misery with a good Dark Binding.
Oh, wait a minute. Oh. Goon Master, Super Mega Death Rocket gonna collect that one. Now he's frenzying Carol, trying to run away. Oh no! That's not what you wanted. Goon Master with a double kill out of nowhere. Goon Squad staying scrappy.
Yeah, Ronan not there to save that play this time, unfortunately. Did use his ultimate in the mid lane. And I really think that there's a lot of back and forth between these two teams. Both of them are kind of showing some signs of life, some of the things that their team comp wants to do. And it's going to be interesting. The problem, though, I think, is that in the mid lane, of course, Antibiotics going to do way more damage than the Yasuo, especially come late game. Going to be quite a bit more tanky. Is stacking up that Rod of Ages right now. And of course, Goonmaster on that Jinx, definitely going to be able to do a lot of damage on his own, but that Smolder with the Execute going to be very scary.
Shout out to CG on his movement, though, in the mid lane, though. I gotta say, he's dodged a lot of his damage over the last couple of minutes from Antibiotics, which is kind of what you expect from Yasuo players, but it's one thing to, like, know that Yasuo players should do that, and then another thing entirely to see it. So, I mean, well done him. Ooh, we're gonna have a little bit of fight for this Scuttle Krabby here. Ping's coming down as Zenny already running through. Event Horizon gonna be used to buy a little bit of space. This crab goes the way of Goon Squad. Is the dragon to be spawning in a minute? So Matrix, these guys, they're not willing to let things go for free. They're willing to stay scrappy for some of the stuff.
Yeah, I think though on the top side we're gonna see Booty Muncher just fall here, unfortunately. Ooh, the flash was interesting.
Oh, this is I think he's just 100% dead here. Not sure why you would blow any of those movement speed abilities to get away. You were 100% always gonna die there. I think maybe he was trying to see if he could buy time for help to get there. Ronet's going to throw down the ultimate. It's going to stun 3 people. Antibiotics getting close. The wind wall is going to block that damage. Currently Gooding wants to see if he can cut another kill. He's going to get silenced, at least for a moment, though, by Zinni, who's doing an incredible job to turn this around. It's a 1-4-2. Goon Squad, we're trying to find an answer. Double kill for Zinni towards the top side. Goon Squad overextend, overforced, and they get rightfully punished.
Yeah, this Garen pick is really starting to pay dividends, and the amount of attention that Killer Watermelon has paid to it on this top side is not working out. This is starting to look really scary for the side of Goon Squad. Tyler going to be the only member of their team who is doing well, and this is not what you want to see. We know that Tyler... Oh,
as we're going to go back to live. Goonmaster's going to get knocked out there. We were playing that replay. See it now. Goon Squad got taken advantage of in that top side matchup, but it gets flipped. And you were just talking about how Goonmaster was the only member of their team doing well. Matrix, you son of a bitch.
Yeah, that's my bad. But Misery Loves in a bit of trouble here as Ronet is on the way down, but the ADC is recalling. I don't think you want to fight this.
Well, Misery loves company, and he's going to have quite a bit of it. He's trying to run for his life in that bot side. Flame Dude wants to see if he can just tack him up a little bit. Remember, that Braum passive doesn't have a cooldown. Once it's down, it can go right back up. Flame Dude going to collect a 1v1 kill versus the support. So Goon Squad will at least find something for their ADC woes there. Question is, will they be able to get this dragon? They're in a decent spot, but they just lost the top lane. Thankfully, Zenny doesn't have teleport, but the question is whether or not Goon Squad are going to be able to respond to this, because Zenny is 2 levels. He has a lot of damage on the side. He's just going to kill Booty. Bye, Booty. Dead underneath the turret. So I don't know that this dragon is going to be worth it here for the side of Goon Squad. Ooh. Especially if the Amumu can steal it. Oh, he's got an ult on multiple people, and he's going to die for it. But that investment by Goon Squad to try and wait out the top lane trade goes against them. Roan it with the steal on that bot side.
My God, what a steal from this jungler, and do not let this man have a moo-moo. He is absolutely killing it on this champion, and he is building a little bit more towards that tanky bit as well, which you kind of talked about. Currently Gooning in a bit of a difficult position here. Doesn't have the wind wall, needs to be really careful. Master is going to knock down this bottom turret, though. Carol.
Yeah, will at least get traded over there. It's probably going to be a double kill, as now the ultimate going to come out from Misery. Will go down. The root comes out just a little bit too late. No further follow-up waiting, so at least Goon Squad trading for that turret, but I think still not going to be happy with the state of this game. Zanny waiting like a rat in that bottom brush, but isn't going to get anything. Goon Squad, they're going to sense that something is a little bit off, and they're going to walk on back. So, Goon Squad, I like that they're trying to stay scrappy, and ultimately, honestly, the gold lead is not that big a deal right now. It's less than 1,000. They're going to try and get the ultimate down on Antibiotics, who immediate flashed away to get underneath the safety of the turret. But that Vigar is going to be down the flash the next couple minutes, so Goon Squad, they have an avenue there. Talk about scrappy. Matrix, This feels like BLT's game with the way it's going, especially like off that play from Ronit stealing the dragon feels really good, but Goon Squad not willing to let this go.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. This game is almost dead even in gold. Only 800 separating these two teams at 19 minutes. And there is a decent amount of objective trading going on, but Goon Squad is down 1 turret. So that's really the only uneven item in this particular game. I guess BLT is up 1 neutral objective, but
hey, that dragon matters a whole lot.
Trying to even it up a little bit here with 4 members in the mid lane.
All right, let's see whether or not the Garen gets called over to answer this. They might just decide to make this trade for the bot lane turret for mid. Obviously, Garen, I think, honestly, the Garen 1v4 push, I think, is just better for BLT. I think they have no problem letting Garen go in to destroy this turret, especially because they have the Grubs push. So I think not the worst trade in the world for them. Baron going to be spawning here in a few seconds. I don't think either of these teams are in a position to try and steal away that early objective, but I have seen crazier things.
I have as well, and we could see an interesting team fight in an awkward position. Smolder, though, at 120 stacks, almost at that 125, so we'll be feeling pretty good about the scaling. Maybe a little bit behind where he wants to be, but if we get some team fights coming up here, it could accelerate him a lot. A little bit of mismatch on all of these lanes as well. Normally you see the Veigar more towards the bottom side, but does not have that teleport, so wants to stay closer to that important objective should something happen. Whereas Philly Rat having that teleport on the Garen through the top lane quest.
All right, Goon Squad, what is going to be your next move? I think is the question that a lot of people are going to be wondering, because they're down at least 1 drag right now. Positioning doesn't feel the greatest with them right now. Watermelon might be going for the world's longest flank. Let's see what they want to do. Oh, okay, he is going to get spotted out. Now, Ronit's going to be able to ping his position. He is going to get rotated on, and this is not where he wanted to be. He's not going to be able to get out of this. The ultimate will come down flashed over, but it just doesn't matter. Ooh, what potentially looked like a really good flank there from Goon Squad trying to wrap around on Zanny gets absolutely turned around on them.
Yeah, definitely rough for them, and dying to ignite while using your flash is not going to feel good. As Grandmaster also not going to feel good. Does not have his support here.
Yeah.
The flash blow from Braum.
Yeah. Goonmaster is going to go down. Flame Dude just there to provide a little bit of emotional support as he goes down there.
Yeah, and I think we're starting to see a little bit of the problem that currently Gooning is having as well. Just does not have enough attack. Oh my goodness.
Bye, Darius. Jesus Christ. That is so much damage.
Yep, but Antibiotics in a really good spot right now. Let's take a look.
Could you do me a favor and read how many stacks that Veigar has at 21 minutes into the game?
I'm looking at 233 stacks.
That is
on this
not a typo, ladies and gentlemen. Antibiotics has been so thorough on landing his damage that he has 233 stacks of that Primordial Evil. That is a tremendous amount of AP being given over to the Veigar. We were talking about late game scaling like being a thing, later on into the game, as the name implies, late game scaling. Yeah, it turns out late game scaling is just early game scaling for Antibiotics. Turns out you can just kind of do what you want when you're the Veigar.
That is double the stats that would be given by actually. It's basically a death cap and a half.
Yep.
So Antibiotics has
two death caps. He has 2.5 death caps sitting in his inventory right now.
About 4,800 gold worth of stats just given over for free by this Goon Squad.
That is an obscene amount of damage. There is nobody on this team that he won't kill from half health.
Yeah, I really think that Goon Squad have made a massive mistake in
talking about another massive mistake.
Watermelon.
Yeah, being this top lane, that's going to be another massive mistake. Zanny gonna knock down the Udyr. They were trying to trade for top lane turret. They may not be able to get anything in the mid lane as well because now Misery Love's going to be running through just to try and make sure they get at least one of these bot lane duos. Goonmaster may be going down as well. Glacial Fissure committed at the end as the root's not going to come down. Now Rona trying to run away. Goonmaster underneath the turret. Super Mega Death Rocket. Q to the back. Flame Dude jumps out. Carol's now here. The Smolder. What can he get done? Nothing. Goonmaster running away with it in the mid lane. Teleport to come out. I may have spoken too soon. Now Zanny, he's got the speed up. Flash using the sword to get on top of the Jinx. She's going to go down, but it's a 1-4-3 in the end.
Yeah, not really a huge deal for either team. Both kind of trading over the same amount of gold, but does give priority to the side of Blacklist for this Baron, and they should start getting some vision down around it. And I'm really concerned at this point. I think Blacklist are starting to run away with this game, especially with the point of scaling that both of these carries are on. And with that Amumu to just kind of sit in the middle, and Garen is basically unanswerable. I don't know. I don't know how Goon Squad win this game.
Yeah, I feel like it's a lot of where are Zinni and antibiotics, and then where is the rest of Goon Squad? Because I will say, like, Carol, every time he's tried to get involved in any of these fights, it has just been, like, health bar deleted instantly by anybody and everybody on the side of Goon Squad. And so, at least for now, it doesn't seem like BLT are super concerned about playing through the Smolder. They're not going to get a little bit more aggressive on the Booty Bunch like I thought maybe they would. All right, Goon Squad, you got to show me something here. This is the umpteenth time you've been in this mid lane. Surely at the however many times of asking, you knock down this turret, and they in fact do. Narana was running over to see if he could find a potential engage, and Goon Squad very wisely going to back off after they get the mid lane objective. Another dragon going to be spawning here in a couple minutes. Neither team set up for Baron. This is just a little bit of an awkward tension spot between both of these teams.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think that they really need to both be posturing on this top side. Like you said, Drake not spawning for another 2 minutes. And Baron really going to be the objective. With how strong Blacklist are right now, I really want to see them fighting as 5 or pulling, with Philly Rat, pulling multiple members down to that bottom side to try and get an advantage on this Baron. But right now, both teams just kind of trying to put down vision, and I'm a little worried about, maybe not for this game, but in games to come, you know, some of these teams taking advantage of this difficulty and closing it out.
Yeah. One thing I think is interesting for both these teams is knowing that they have really good Baron damage. They can kind of shred it fairly quickly, and so I think for either team is going to have to making sure they have aggressive vision. But a games get a lot easier if you're trading ganks. Let's see what currently Goonin can do. He's trying to walk on out of this one. Is going to get hit by the second cast of the bandage toss. So he will go down and not responded yet by Goon Squad. Is this the avenue that BLT need to go ahead and start to grab up this Baron? No mid laner to worry about. But instead they're going to take some recalls. They're going to wait for Zandy to get busy in that bot side.
I really think Carson is just too weak at this point. Even though you take him down and you do make it a 4v5, you really need to find an angle onto Goonmaster to really get this Baron. Because if the Jinx starts hitting you, and especially if the Jinx gets accelerated during a Baron fight, it could be really, really bad for the side of Blacklist. And so their caution here is noted. They need to find an angle onto Goonmaster, and they might have found one.
Yep. Is going to step away from the bandage toss right now. Zanny running towards them. Collapse is not quite in yet. Other members starting to run forward. Flame Dude going to just buy enough space for Goonmaster to walk around. Now, this is the team fight that we've been waiting for. We haven't seen a full 5v5. As currently Gooning running out towards the mid lane. Wants to get involved here as quickly as he possibly can. Remember, it's about this mid-wave control. Whoever has this shoving away from them gets priority towards that river entrance. It's also about tagging, making sure that every member on both teams are seen that they're known. Misery doing a really good job of landing these dark findings. Booty Munch are going to drop forward. Oh, doesn't manage to get the apprehended out. Flame Dude tried to flash forward, potentially looking for a Glacial Fizzer, but may have sold the farm. Run it, trying to see if he can find this ADC, but he won't even need it. They're just going to knock down the Darius and a grab Dragon. So, my God, Flame Dude, what were you thinking?
Yeah, that flash forward, both by Flame Dude and Booty Muncher, definitely not what you want to see in that team fight that will secure the Cloud Soul. Now, not the most impactful soul for this team. I don't think anybody, aside from maybe the Morgana, really uses it well. But still, giving that over, giving the Elder Drake in 5.5 minutes now,
Plus Baron right
will
now.
be very scary.
I will say, I think that Garen's probably happy with that as well, just from the additional move speed around the map. We'll be happy to run additional members of Goon Squad down. But I would agree. It's like, it's definitely not like anywhere near the best drag soul to have. It's just one of those things like, yeah, if it's up, we take it. Killer, that was the wrong way to flash, buddy. You needed to get between two turrets He will be lucky to live right now. Flame Dude just wants to buy a little bit of space, but I'm not sure he wants to take an aggressive fight against the Garen, who is just running around like a Beyblade with unlimited timing. He's going to be wearing purple. They want to catch this Garen. How much are they willing to give over in terms of tempo and time wasted? Because it's going to take multiple members.
Oh, no.
Uh-oh, he's going to multiple people. Knock going to land the final breath. Buys a little bit of space, but this Garen's still not dead. He has a 4 to 5 level advantage depending on the champion over the entirety of Goon Squad here. And a 4v1 not going their way. Zanny happy to jump forward. Ultimate onto 3 from the Amumu. A double kill from Antibiotics. Get a taste of that high damage. A medicine Goon Squad. They're running for the hills. Currently Gooning not going to be allowed to live. It is 5 dead for the sign of Goon Squad. You got a couple people pushing in the mid lane. You got empowered minions in the bot side. And BLT, they have found their first win of the series and perhaps their first series win.
That was a 3 for 5, by the way. I just want to point that out.
That was a 1 for 4 for a long time. That was a 1 for 4. Zanny didn't get the kills he deserved in that, and I'm a little sad about that.
I mean, this Garen is 9-0. I mean, forget how well Antibiotics is doing. This guy hasn't died a single time on this Garen, and I don't know.
Yeah, sounds like Silvermanes need to take a page out of BLT's book and learn how to play the Garen correctly. As we're gonna throw a little bit of shade towards the Silvermanes. Look, we gotta do it because they played it it just went so badly yesterday, and it's just kind of funny. But I mean, my God, Blacklist, massive departure from what we've seen for the last couple of series from them. Great first game, a little bit worrying from Goon Squad towards the end there, where it kind of seemed like they were out of sorts. But one game does not a series make.
Very true. We'll have to see, can Goon Squad clap back in the second game, or will Blacklist pick up their first series and take it all?
We'll be back with a game number 2 right after this short break. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back and we are getting ready for draft in game number 2. Coming off a nice little Blacklist win, Goon Squad has elected... or rather, Blacklist, has elected to stay on the blue side. Goon Squad going to be on that red side. And based off of what I've seen in that game 2, Matrix, I'm not entirely sure what Goon Squad's going to be able to do to get back into this one, because that game number 2 was very convincing.
Yeah, a commanding win for the side of BLT. And I really think that if Goon Squad want to win, Killer Watermelon needs to basically sit bot lane. He has to just babysit this bot lane and run it down. Like, I don't know how else they win at this point.
No, I agree. And what was funnier, too, was how much pressure Goon Squad put on that top side in terms of bans. And then the fact that Blacklist just go, okay, cool story, we're going to pick Garen and still win. I think, to me, is a little bit of a worrying trend. And so Goon Squad, they're going to have to make an adjustment there, because I think pinching the top lane pool was not necessarily the answer here, unless they want to try and pinch it even harder somehow in game number 2.
I mean, they are 2 top lane champions down, so I guess you could consider that even harder. They are starting off with similar bans here, and on both sides, Blacklist electing to ban the Nocturne and the Nyla, Mundo and Tryndamere taken away for the side of Goon Squad. But I really don't know. You have to get an easier matchup somewhere, either in ADC or in mid lane, because both of the solo lanes, like we talked about it in draft for game number 1, the solo lanes were the critical point, and Garen being 9-0 at the end of the game, what are you supposed to do?
No, absolutely. When I think, too, we're talking about the solo lane performance, Antibiotics, massive performance there on the Vygar. There weren't too many moments where I was really concerned for him, actually, because he was doing such a good job at controlling currently Gooning, in that mid lane repeatedly. And so I'm excited to see what Blacklist has cooked up for this one, especially since Goon Squad, again, pinching that top lane pool, gonna grab themselves a Kayn. Interesting to see what they'll pair with that, as they're gonna take away the Scion and try and get some additional safety in that top side.
Now, I am curious to see. We have seen Scion mid a couple of times, so maybe that gets flexed to the mid lane. Not sure if currently Gooning plays that, but the Mordekaiser going to be locked in for the side of Blacklist, and I definitely like this answer into the Scion. We'll have to see what the answer is for the side of Blacklist in the jungle. Kayn definitely abusable early and does take a lot of time to get rolling.
I think Mordekaiser's just one of those champions that actually does a pretty good job in controlling the Scion, especially in the 1v1. Mordekaiser's not really concerned about the Scion passive stacking because he's just going to burn through that health anyways. And also, I think like a good source of magic damage from the side of Goon Squad because of what Mordekaiser's going to build. The question for me is, what is the most efficient first item into the Scion? Please do not say Leandries.
I was actually thinking, I think most Mordekaisers build Rylai's first right now. But the
that Vel'Koz gonna get locked in. It's exciting. I'm not sure how good it is.
You know, I've seen some decent Vel'Koz players in the server, and I've actually seen Vel'Koz make a little bit of a resurgence. He does a surprising amount of damage still, and I think if you can pilot this champion well, that he does, he will surprise you.
The one concern I have right now, though, with that Vel'Koz is how early it was picked, especially given that there are a number of really good mid lane champions into it. A couple of which I'm thinking right now, one specifically, Mel, is very much up. Some other champions as well that are kind of easy to match that Vel'Koz. You could go with Xerath if you wanted to. You could go a Victor, which would be really, really good into the Vel'Koz, especially since the Vel'Koz is just stationary with his ult, which is terrible given this meta. Like, any full stationary ults, I think, are not so great. It's why Misfortune gets punished so heavily, I think, in the bot side. So I'm worried about what Blacklist have available, as we'll have to see what that ban was.
That
was supposed
waiting on confirmation from the teams.
Yeah, so no, it was just a misban.
Rip. Oh well. I mean, do they continue to pinch top? Well, no reason to pinch top side. Mordekaiser was picked in that first round, which is something that I called out that I wanted to see, and good adaptation from the side of Blacklist to do that, preventing this Goon Squad from spending more bans on that top side. But support pinch for the side of Blacklist and a little bit from Goon Squad as well. I'm definitely curious to see what they prioritize in that support lane. Vel'Koz could go support, but not likely to.
Yeah, I would be really sus to see the Vel'Koz go in that support role, just because you're going to be missing a lot of utility with that champion. Even when he does get to level 6, there's a number of really good champs that are just good in that support role that would like to punish him. I'm thinking specifically like a Leona or a Nautilus, which is still up. Is Lucian going to be picked up there? So, but now that they've left this, though, like, they could flex this Vel'Koz over to the mid lane if they see something they don't like. But like with Silas getting picked here, like, I feel like Goon Squad have put themselves in a really bad position with this draft, because you have a Vel'Koz into a Silas, which is terrible, and then you have a Vel'Koz support potentially, which is also terrible against Seraphine.
Yeah, this does not look like a good draft for the side of Goon Squad. Unfortunately, like you said, they've kind of drafted themselves into a corner. We'll see what the support, or I guess mid lane pickup, is for their side, but they are really going to have to hand stiff this game if they want to win, because right now from draft, I'd say they're losing pretty hard. Well, Silas has so many good ultimates to pick up here.
Well, and what's worse too is Goon Squad banned the Nami. So, okay, this is going to be a Vel'Koz support. I am not a fan of this at all, and I think Goon Squad have made this game a lot harder than they needed to.
Yeah, this game is looking really rough for the side of Goon Squad. I mean, Vladimir will have some ability to fight back against the Silas, but I mean, as Kayn, what do you really do into Rek'Sai? It's going to be incredibly difficult to play. Yep. Sion, of course, getting a really tough time against the Mordekaiser. Caitlyn will outrange the Lucian for a lot of this, and with the Seraphine to back her up against the Vel'Koz, it's going to be very difficult for this bot lane to do well. On top of the fact that Rek'Sai is really good at ganking lanes, I'm just so worried.
Well, and I mean, my main thing is like, even with his Vel'Koz being in the bot side, like, it doesn't really get any additional safety, because look at all the champions that could just easily grab him. Mordekaiser puts you, like, put you in the Brazil ult. Rek'Sai can go unstoppable and target you in the backline. Silas can get changed, target you in the backline. Everyone has access to this champion that is turbo immobile within this meta, and like, I think that's one of the biggest things that separates, winning comps from losing comps, is your ability to move across the map and not get caught in team fights. And Vel'Koz, it does not seem like there's a really easy way for him to get set up on this ultimate. I will say that they do have decent follow-up on the Sion and Kayn engage, like Lucian and Kayn, like all that trio, Lucian, Kayn, Sion, like that trio, they're easy. It's easy for them to kind of set up with one another, but I mean, to get there though is going to be incredibly painful.
I'm also curious. I'm not entirely sure, but I think there's a chance that Killer Watermelon is looking for the blue cane with that Conqueror. Usually with red cane, we see something. I mean, Conqueror is still decent on red cane, and I would like to see him go red cane, but it's just going to take him so long to get there.
I don't know. I'm struggling for ways to kind of excuse this draft from the side of Goon Squad, but really I don't think I can. Like I think the other thing maybe we look for is Vladimir being this sort of solo carry potential champion in the mid lane. You know, I'm currently gooning just to see if he's able to get some split push that. But I mean, obviously Silas is going to be a challenge to deal with in that mid lane.
Yeah, and on top of that, we're going to need to see a much better performance from him if he wants to be able to be a terror in the side lane. It's just going to be very difficult in this particular matchup, especially with antibiotics opting for the ignite once again on the Silas. A very smart decision from him. We'll have to see.
Yeah. Just the more I look at this Vel'Koz pick, the more I'm just unhappy with, especially against Caitlyn Seraphine, which is just a turbo. Like the only way it would have been worse, I think, potentially would have been if there was an Ashe picked with that Seraphine. But I mean, Caitlyn's bad enough, and now I guess the good news is like Goonmaster is on a champion that he really likes. His Lucian is fairly impressive, and he definitely knows how to play it aggressively. But that aggression can be overpunished. The thing is, too, is Vel'Koz doesn't have a great way to follow up with you. Like he really doesn't. You know, it's not the champion that necessarily enables the Lucian to play super aggressively.
I honestly would have liked to have seen a tank support come out for the side of Flame Dude. I understand that it's likely just, trying to flex this lane around, but it just, I don't know. You just, like you said, you pointed out in draft, I don't think that they should have picked the Vel'Koz so early. I understand what they were trying to do with it, but I think if you pick it on R4, you have the ability to see other things come out and you're not in so much of a hole.
How many times do you
we'll
think
have to
Vel'Koz
see.
How many times do you think this Vel'Koz is going to get killed?
I'm predicting at least 6 deaths.
I said double it.
I don't want to say 10 because I feel like that's a little grief, but
I feel like
10 is.
I feel like this Vel'Koz is about to have a real bad game. I got a bad feeling about this. I feel like as soon as they break out of lanes, this Vel'Koz is just a pinata of loot for anybody and everybody that wants to go whack him.
Yeah, and I mean, maybe if Misery is just not able to utilize the Seraphine ult correctly, uses it too early, or not able to land it in the proper direction because of like pressure from Lucian, maybe it works out. But
sure,
I just don't see it really. I mean, you have to basically be landing every single poke ability that Vel'Koz has to make this lane work. And Carol definitely showed a little bit of weakness. Misery also showed a little bit of weakness in that early laning phase in game number 1, but I
think the point we're making is a lot has to go right for this Vel'Koz pick to be really worth it. Although
he does a little bit of math early.
All right, that was a little bit did his trigonometry, got his angles right. So we'll start there. A little bit of a moral victory.
And knocking the Caitlyn first strike off early, also feeling a little bit good.
Yep.
But we'll have to see.
All right, this game.
I do like the control they're taking early in this lane, though.
No. Yeah, it's game number 2, BLT Goon Squad, with potentially a questionable draft in this game number 2. Just of all the ways that you would want to get back in this series, I think off of this draft is not what we would have expected. And so I think a little bit to be desired potentially, but obviously with anything, it's how it gets executed and how well you play it, and maybe we give Goon Squad the benefit of the doubt. Maybe they have the secret tech that we just don't know about.
Yeah, we'll have to see. Again, I really think those solo lanes are going to be so critical for the side of BLT. If they get ahead, it's going to be incredibly frustrating for the side of Goon Squad to play into some of these laners. I mean, how long can Lucian really survive against a fed Mordekaiser, who also has Ignite?
Well, and also, not even just the Lucian. I mean, let's talk about Sion. I mean, how long is this Sion going to be able to kind of withstand the pressure that Zanny's going to have on the Mordekaiser? Because Zanny proved he had no problem getting an early lead against his counterpart in that top side. And once he did, never really let it go. And Sion, even though he is a very safe champion, you can kind of just sit back and scale a little bit. You do still need to find ways to, you know, not go turbo down and farm. And against Zenny, I'm just wondering if maybe that's a task too big for the Goon Squad top laner.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see. A little bit of poke coming out, though, in this mid lane early. And I think we've mentioned it on broadcast before. We'll say it again. In this tank matchup, ooh, Misery Loves getting a little rough there. But in this tank versus fighter matchup, it's always on the fighter to have to, you know, have it all to do. And like you said, Sion does like to sit back, just try to get as much farm as he can, but pretty much has to be careful not to fall too far behind in this lane matchup.
Well, I think the other thing, too, and we haven't said this, but this is just kind of an obvious thing, that if anybody's watched League of Legends for a long time, if you played against a Mordekaiser or played in a game where there's a Mordekaiser, you just know that any gank attempts to that Mord becomes just kind of nigh impossible, because you just can turn it into a 1v1. And then what's worse, too, is he comes out of that ult fully stacked, and then, you know, if he's, you know, even moderately healthy, it makes trying to finish off that gank even worse. Now, it's going to be the root up coming through. Goonmaster wants to get aggressive, is going to force out the heal, but Rek'Sai waiting over the wall, manages to get the knockup. Flame Dude forced to flash. Nice little pressure return there. Misery had to use the full sums, but that was traded for the side of Flame Dude, and honestly, I'm more worried about that Vel'Koz not having sums than I am Seraphine.
Yeah, I completely agree, and I'm a little worried. Ronit is putting way more pressure on this bottom side than Killer Watermelon, and this is not what you want to see. He is getting some stuff done in the other lanes, and Philly Rat going to be in a bit of a sticky spot, but Booty Muncher also has no mana on the Scion, so...
Well, I mean, already we're seeing, like, he's not even level 6, and he just dissuaded that gank by just getting his passive off. And it's just like, okay, yep. I'm a Kane. I'm trying to go the blue route possibly. This is going to take a long time for me to do that. I do no damage to this Mordekaiser. I'm just going to have to leave this lane and accept that Sion's just going to have to go down. And so you're talking about the solo lanes. It's already going well for the side of BLT.
And realistically, if he wants to go blue Kane, his only option is going to be this bottom side. Good trades back and forth. Good Master really low, but Carol also no mana.
Yep. This is just a trade of a couple of people that are wet noodles without at least a little bit of mana right now. And so the good news is Carol can sit back at range and farm, but then obviously Goonmaster having a little bit of mana means he can kind of shove it fairly aggressively. It's just about the back time, is because both of these teams, like both of these bot lanes, want to find a nice time to back and not give over a wave. So it's just like you kind of get stuck in this thing where it's like you keep shoving waves but then never backing.
Yeah, definitely going to be a bit of a rough positioning for them. It will be interesting to see, like I said, what choice Killer Watermelon does make, but he needs to play for this bottom side if he wants to go for blue. If he wants to go for red, he's playing more towards the correct sides. Did gank mid, did gank top. Will get a decent number of stacks off of both of those champions, but Ronit looking at the mid lane here, will be interesting to see what happens there.
Ronit no level 6, so not going to be able to commit the ultimate to that. Antibiotics does have level 6 though. Here's the question: is which of these guys actually has more sustain, Antibiotics or currently gooning on the Vladimir? Because
absolutely the Vladimir.
Yeah, I think so. Because sometimes we pointed out where like the Silas has the ability to kind of sustain through some of these long team fights, but we never actually get to see that very often against another sustaining mid laner. And Vlad's like one of these champions that's notorious for being difficult to take down in a team fight. So I'm curious to see in the late game which of them is going to be the bigger threat.
Yeah, it's definitely going to depend more on what build path currently Gooning does go for. Interesting choice of Deathfire, but Flame Dude getting a little... Ooh, if that Q lands from Carol, I think he's just dead.
And also very lucky that Carol didn't have 6s. Oh, Booty Muncher going to get grabbed out of the decimating smash. Antibiotics, meanwhile, going to force out the flash for currently gooning. Let's see how far he can get. Killer Watermelon is waiting. Antibiotics doesn't have any help right now. He hasn't used the ultimate yet. Will walk out. Killer Watermelon, no ultimate, thankfully, for Antibiotics. So that means that he will just walk out, but a little bit of sketchy trading there in that mid lane.
Yeah, but that is going to be the Drake for the side of BLT, and these early objectives starting to stack once again. Not what you want to see if you are on the side of Goon Squad. Kane did look for an invade, but doesn't look like he found anything based on the jungle timers that are currently available. And so I'm a little curious as to why they felt like they're not. I'm just curious in general why they don't feel like they want to play for this bottom side.
Well, I think it's because they're trying to. I think they feel locked into trying to answer the solo lane thing because I think they just know that Zanny's going to be an issue on this Mordekaiser. But I mean, the problem for me is you have to recognize if you're Goon Squad, there's nothing you can do about this top lane matchup. There is absolutely nothing you can do about it. Zanny's going to get ahead. He's on the Mordekaiser. He's going to isolate a gank if you try and do that. So you have to make your peace with giving up that lane. You need to focus towards this boss side, especially with how far Carol and Misery have been pushed for the last couple minutes. Like this is begging for a gank.
Yeah, exactly. Killer Watermelon now missing out on the blue.
Yeah, Ronan's going to get it.
Both junglers.
And he's, this is not where he wants to be. If he ults Ronan right now, Ronan's going to take him straight towards Philly. Flash forward. Oh, nice job by Zanny to make sure that he doesn't get away. He's going to lock him in that Mordekaiser ultimate. He's going to whack him down. Pulls him first blood for the Mordekaiser. It almost took 8 minutes, but we do finally get the first kill. Goon Squad kind of losing their minds right now on that top side. Not sure what the goal was there.
And guess what, Horizon? If he goes for bottom side, if he ganks the bot lane that is incredibly low on mana and has been pushed for, like you said, quite a while, that doesn't happen.
Yeah. Yeah, you don't embarrassingly get the blue buff taken away from you that you were trying to steal. You don't get ultied by the Mordekaiser. You don't get kind of shamed at the top side. And, you know, you probably have been a lot closer to that blue cane right now, that's for sure. Break us down on this replay, as it's going to take a minute to get to that fight.
Yeah, we're going to wait for the camera to zoom back, but the Q steal from, or I guess the Q steal attempt from the cane, and then the good knock-up onto Killer Watermelon, and then the good ulti to prevent himself from being ultied, the flash away, and then, of course, Killer Watermelon only being able to ultimate the Mordekaiser. Really smart play from both this top laner and this jungler. And this is exactly what you want to see. These two working together really, really well on this top side.
And, oops, that replay ran out. I didn't hit the button fast enough, and that replay would go for a long time. So I just kind of lost track of what I was doing there for a second. I think rather worryingly is that's going to be 2 ultimates coming out there on the bot side, and that Xerath ulti, as we highlighted, a little bit problematic just because you kind of have to stay still to use it, and if they just walk out of range, well, then there's really not a whole lot you can do about it. Killer Watermelon, though, is going to get the kill on a run, and so we'll at least even up the score line there. But the thing that I wanted to highlight, which has just now happened, is the fact that Zanny is level 8, has completed his first item. Oh, antibiotics. What is he favoring here? He's sticking around for a minute.
Yeah, just trying to make sure that the rest of his jungler's camps don't get stolen, I think. But I think the other problem here too, and he does go, the Philly Rat does, ooh, the
good try. Yeah, that was a little late. I don't think he should have tried that. He was always too far away for that flash. I think Zanny should have just held onto it and should have just let him go.
Yep. Does go the Rylai's early though, as we called out earlier, and I think that is one of the 2 options that I do like to see. But antibiotics currently good and going hard on one another. But one of the things that I really worry about for this Goon Squad, and I'm gonna wonder if we continue to see it, because we did kind of see it in the previous series that Goon Squad lost against NPM, is Goon Squad have kind of, okay.
All right, bye antibiotics in the mid lane, stuck around way longer than he should have. That was a little bit of a surprise.
Yeah. Goon Squad have kind of seemed to forget, or have forgotten who their carry is, who the main source of their damage is.
Oh, no, did manage to get the free. Whoa, wait a minute. Ron was waiting in the wings. I didn't see him sticking around. They're going to turn that back out on a Goon Master. Sorry to interrupt you there, but I thought for certain Carol was dead. I guess not.
Yeah, good sums coming out from Misery. Did manage to save the ADC. Carol definitely should have died there. I agree with you. But I just... If you play towards this top side, which is never going to carry, right? You're trying to hold Philly Rat down, which I do somewhat understand.
Oh, Flame Dude.
But there goes Flame Dude.
Yeah, he's going to get dropped.
Watermelon will manage to clean up, it looks like. Does get the double kill, and did go the red cane, which I do like. That's exactly what I wanted to see on this cane, so good on him for making the correct decision. But I really think if you're, like, what is the idea, right? What's the primary idea? You want your jungler to play towards the lane that you think is going to carry, and we all know that Tyler is the best player on this team, just in terms of raw stats, right?
Sure.
If you're playing towards a lane
Run
that
it.
is never going
Run
to
it.
carry,
Hold on, run it. Run it. Does he do it again? Surely there's no Ray. He does it 2 games in a row. Please, auto camera, go back over. I want to see him steal it. Do they pull it out? He's going to get over. Run it if you do it. You're a madman. Run it. He does it again in front of 3 people. Give him the MVP already. My God, he's a criminal.
Ryzen getting a little bit excited on that one, his mic peeking a little bit out of it, but I think we all know what, or all feel exactly the same way. I cannot believe they allowed him to steal the streak again.
He can't keep getting away with it.
Going to be incredibly frustrating for the side of Goon Squad. I just don't understand why you would ever allow him into that lane. And he does die for it. He does get punished. And Misery
Moral
Loves
victory.
did miss the
Who
ultimate.
cares?
But
Moral victory. No matter what happens in this game, you can't unsteal that dragon.
you cannot. And going to be incredibly rough. Now, Antibiotics having a bit of a rough time here. Killer Watermelon going to be sniffing around this mid lane. I will say, though, that currently Gunning is doing a much better job at this game than in the previous one of making sure that he's able to be that terror in the mid lane. The Silas having the rougher time in this matchup. It's really Booty Muncher trying to go at it in the top side.
Yeah, the longer that fight goes on, though, the more the Mord wins it. I will say, though, nice little bit of flip in the mid lane, though. Antibiotics getting put under a tremendous amount of pressure. Currently Gunning would really like to pick up that mid lane turret and start to move around across the map, especially now that we're starting to get close to that 15-minute mark. But BLT doing a really good job with these dragons, though, is Carol just going to kill Flame Dude. That's what we talked about. When you have to sit there stationary, you open yourself up to a whole world of damage, and Carol puts that Vel'Koz in the dirt.
Now, I do have to say, I do not like this build from Antibiotics. I think he itemized correctly in the previous game. I do not think he's itemizing correctly in this game. Roa is a potential option for the side of the Silas, but Booty Muncher getting slammed by the Banhammer. Will be banned on life for now. Okay, Antibiotics turning around in the mid lane.
He just won that as a raw 1v1. I have to point that out. That he just did to currently Gunning what currently Gunning did to Antibiotics earlier. That is a great 1v1 victory. And with the itemization, especially the row, as you pointed out, like great to at least start to even up that scale a little bit.
For sure. And he definitely will be a little bit more tanky on the Silas. So I do kind of understand the itemization, but I really think, especially with how much you just want to absolutely destroy this Lucian, you really need the raw damage as Grandmaster. Ooh.
It just goes from bad to worse. Just a polite golf sigh for the Goon Squad bot lane as it just continued to suffer a little bit.
Yeah.
You know, so far, the Vel'Koz has only died twice. Your original prediction was 6. We're very far off from my prediction of 12. But there's plenty of time for that to happen. Just like right now, where if you step too far forward, flash forward, Carol is going to be able to commit the ultimate to try and knock down the Vel'Koz. No, nice follow-up there. Killer Watermelon now starting to have a performance here on this Kane. Gets another kill in that bot side. So at least a little bit of a ray of hope here for the side of Goon Squad. But it is a very, very small trickle of sunlight on a very, very dark side of this map right now.
Yeah, definitely 6-1 on this Kane, and like we said, did go the correct build. Now, Carson did get first turret in the mid lane, which is going to feel a little bit bad for the side of BLT. You really wanted that objective if you are creating pressure in this early game, but I definitely think there are two, I would say, rays of light for the side of Goon Squad. This mid lane not doing too terribly bad. And Killer Watermelon, the second one here, but we'll see.
Well, the knockdown Carol.
Trying to go aggressive.
They knocked down Carol, so they're doing a good job in at least forcing his turret down. Misery needs to kind of walk out of this. I don't think you really want to be anywhere near this turret. Ping's coming down, like maybe BLT wants to do something about this, but I think Misery is just going to make the call to back off. Antibiotics is here, wrapping around. Vel'Koz wants to get involved. Kill Watermelon is going to get knocked up. Doesn't have access to that ultimate. Gets locked down. Antibiotics will steal the Kane ultimate. I'm sorry. Kill Watermelon did have access to the ultimate. Ronet's going to take him over the wall. Ronet needs to survive. Doesn't manage to do so, but he is going to get at least put into the ultimate by Kill Watermelon, who's mobile. Zanny wants to force this Kane out. Vel'Koz, meanwhile, on the backside, doing quite a bit to put the damage down. Killer flashing away, manages to avoid the grasp, but doesn't make it out. Now, currently, Gooning is here. What do Antibiotics and Zanny want to do? Carol has rejoined the fight. That's how long this fight has been going. Antibiotics with a flash forward, goes into the ultimate to grab Goon Master, trying to get away. Lucian running for his life. Antibiotic wants to follow up, but all they need is the Caitlyn ultimate. The fight going so long. Zenny flash forward to potentially kill the Vlad, and he does. BLT, and probably one of the longest team fights I've seen all year long, manages to get it done against Goon Squad.
Yeah, and they will be able to secure that Drake as well, the Infernal Soul for this game. And this is going to feel really good for the side of BLT. They're putting themselves on Soul Point, and this is exactly the soul that they want. I think Mountain may be the only potential soul that is a little bit better here, but I think Infernal is just absolutely insane.
One more Dragon would give them that. It will be an objective they can look to play for here in the next couple minutes. Zenny now should be given a little bit of alone time with this turret. And the thing that we were talking about earlier, as far as Zenny being very, very difficult to deal with in these team fights off of the performance he had in that top lane, is now coming to fruition. And we're going to see it get even worse as the game goes on. And Zenny, even though he kind of struggled to keep the Kane in check, I think in the end was able to get it done. Was a nice little spot for BLT. I will say, though, Goon Squad, like the way for them to win is off the backs of Killer Watermelon and currently Gooning. That's kind of the only way I see them winning it, just because of how aggressively they're playing and how successful they're being on executing plays. But, you know, if your playmakers really are on those two champions, then it kind of limits you if you start to see either of those guys get picked off.
Yeah, and the other problem, too, is Philly Rat has not died a single time in this game either.
Yeah.
3-0-1. Not quite the same performance that he had on the Garen, but still not dying in this game. Going to make things very difficult. And into the Scion, like, it just... What is Scion really going to do? I mean, like you said, there is a decent amount of follow-up from the Vlad, from the Kane, when the Scion decides to go in, but Killer Watermelon fancies himself a crack at this top side.
Zenny does a lot of damage, but he may not be able to survive this right now. Goes into the ultimate, did a really good job stalling for Runner to get there. Now Watermelon can only watch as his top lane is going to get dragged in. The knockup's going to secure that kill. Watermelon will now commit the ultimate, but not enough damage yet. Xerath will be there with the follow-up to make sure that that Mordekaiser drops. The ultimate, that was what we talked about earlier. Misery missing that ultimate is going to be a big deal, and now Ronnet wants to walk away. The stun, however, buys him a little bit of space, but Watermelon's not willing to let this go. For as much onus as we've been given Zenny and how dangerous he is, Killer is making his mark on this game.
Yeah, absolutely. Trying to make his mark once again, and I don't think Ronnet can really fight this. No ultimates available for any of the players here, but it's going to be a little bit difficult. Currently, Gunning needs to walk this one out. And that is Riftmaker completed for the Mordekaiser as well. This champion is going to have so much healing.
Yeah, and so much damage. Yeah, the longer you fight this champion, the worse it's going to get. He doesn't have Leandra's built yet, which I think will potentially be the third item. I do like the Thornmail's grab, though, knowing that he's going to be heavily targeted in these team fights. I think it's a really smart item adaptation.
I almost would have liked to have seen the Oblivion Orb come out of that just because he applies it really well with his passive, but I do also like the Thornmail. The problem, I guess, that I see with that is that Vladimir never really wants to auto necessarily, and so isn't going to have as much opportunity to use it on him, but the ultimate coming out from Flame Dude onto this Rift Herald is Philly Rat looks to drive it mid.
It's a
might
decision.
Be able to make it. No, does not quite make it.
All right, the Vel'Koz is only 1, 2, and 6. I need him to start dying quite a bit more. But speaking of dying, Booty Muncher going to be wishing he was anywhere other than this bot lane dying. He's going to run the opposite direction that he wants to go as Rona tries to use the ultimate to get in front of him. Booty Muncher flash forward to make sure that they confirm the Blast Cone location. Antibiotics is going to take that one away. Blast Cone back the other direction. This is a little bit of a bouncy castle. Carol going to be joining the fight as well. Who gets the kill? It's going to be Antibiotics, and that kill going towards the Silas. Not going to be the worst thing in the world, who also, by the way, has a Rift Maker. So double Rift Maker in this game from both of these champions.
And I actually expect a third one to come out from the Vladimir here. We'll have to see if that's going to be the case. But Killer Watermelon onto Antibiotics.
Antibiotics.
The other members could be rough.
Yeah, he had no ultimate available, so wasn't going to be able to get out of that one. Misery, though, maybe trying to cut off the rotations. He needs to be careful, though. That's not the champion you want to be sending to do that. And so 1-for-1 trade right now. The Scion will be responding a little bit faster. This Dragon going to be spawning in about 20 seconds. So that means Antibiotics won't be there when this objective spawns in. But we'll have to run out there. A possibility for them to contest it. Not sure why Misery is backing right now. It's not the right time for that. Maybe BLT making the decision just go ahead and get this Dragon. Or does Ronnet fancy himself yet another steal? He doesn't have the flash this time. Goon Squad, surely there's no way that you lose a third objective like this. Surely Ronnet does not get away with stealing the objective again. Ping's coming down
Good
on
vision.
Goon Squad, they're trying to mark him. Ronnet not going to be able to get over this time. All right, third time of asking. They will be able to make sure that Ronnet doesn't secure this objective. They knock him down. Currently going to get a flash over the wall, forcing a preemptive flash from Carol. Not sure why Carol felt the need to flash right there. Currently was never going to catch up to him, so I think a little bit unnecessary there. But all right, Goon Squad, you get your first Dragon of the game. You stop the Dragon stacking for now and deny BLT the soul. But I'm going to be honest, if Ronnet had got that Dragon, I think it would have just been game over.
Yeah, definitely would have been really frustrating. Zanny now in a little bit of trouble here. Does need to ultimate someone.
Does manage to get the ult on someone who can't quite kill him yet. The question is where he wants to position. Goon Master was the one that was going to get locked in there. They are going to slay him. Goon Squad, rather, doing a really good job to stop this team fight, getting back involved with the game. And it's just a spread team fight. Goon Squad, they're starting to run away with it. BLT can do nothing in answer right now, except maybe potentially try and grab this Vlad. But Goon Squad, they're going to go and grab the Baron. Health bars maybe not in the greatest position. Ronnet, now if you wanted to try and steal something, stealing this Baron as a hero play, that would be something to do. Doesn't have access to the flash right now. This Baron also not going down quickly. Ping's coming out. Health bar's a little bit low here. This is starting to look a little sketchy. Ping's coming down. BLT, they're walking in. Ronnet, he wants to get close. They've called off the Baron. They want to make sure that there's no chance for him to steal it. He's going to go into the ulti to make sure that the follow-up is there. The Vel'Koz ultimate is stolen by Antibiotics. This Baron has been completely stopped. Carol doing a really good job, but it's still 4 alive. That might be able to turn back for it. 2 members dead. Will they stay around to get this Baron? Matrix, that was a bit of a shaky team fight. Baron, though, was stopped.
Yeah, a good stop from the side of BLT, but I really think you try to do that without losing so many members, and definitely going to be a little bit frustrating for the side of Goon Squad. They just don't have the damage to be able to put into that Baron. And it's a little rough. You win the team fight. You kill off one of the strongest members of BLT right now, who does have that completed Thorn Mail, but not able to secure an objective on top of it.
All right, BLT.
We'll be interested
go ahead.
to see. There are multiple members now who do have heal cut on the side of BLT. Rek'Sai building that Chempunk Chainsword as well.
Misery with the Oblivion Orb.
Yep. So basically everyone. Oh, even Silas has the Oblivion Orb now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think correctly realizing that they want to try and knock down as on the regeneration that the Kane and the Vladimir were getting. I think Sion you're less concerned about. His healing's really nothing to write home about. It's not why you're building those items. You're just trying to stop this Kane, this Vladimir, who have been running away with the game. Specifically on the Kane, 9, 2, and 4. And we have reached the half number of deaths that you predicted there on the Vel'Koz. I was expecting to see it die quite a bit more. We'll start to see how these team fights go. We may see it drop off a little bit. Death Brush potentially set up here. They're going to spot out Watermelon, who takes a little decent chunk of damage. And Goon Squad, they're just trying to look for a pick that they could snowball into a Baron. They don't necessarily want to overcommit for something. They know that they have the lanes pushing in their favor. They know that currently Gooning's going to be able to push that bot wave. And obviously Sion has done a really good job to shove the top wave, which is going to draw members of BLT over. The question is when and where they want to try and find a fight. Misery manages to walk away, so Flame Dude has already committed the ultimate, but it's a fairly short cooldown. How long do BLT wait before they look to try and find their own fight?
Yeah, if Misery is able to stay towards the back of this fight, is able to just heal up and then use that R over top of multiple members. I don't love this area for either team. I think that it could be incredibly dangerous for both of them, especially with Booty Muncher and Killer Watermelon playing the champions that they are. But of course, the Seraphine ulti could turn that around for both of them.
Antibiotics, I think he needs to try and do what he can to limit this Vladimir getting involved in these team fights. If he can keep him split in the side lane, that makes the job for BLT just a little bit easier. I think right now the other problem is too is just the sheer amount of poke coming out from both these teams. It's keeping the health bars in a tricky spot for both teams where they're not necessarily able to make aggressive plays the way they want to. Antibiotics. They spawned out Killer Watermelon here. This would be a huge pick. If they knock down the jungle, this makes their job so much easier. But they have Goon Master running, and the health just so good for Killer Watermelon. That's going to force out the ultimate for Rana, trying to run away. Goon Master not able to pick that one up. Ultimate's committed from both sides, but most importantly, the Kane ultimate now dead. But you wouldn't think he had taken any damage with how healthy that health bar is.
Yeah, for sure. And that gives them priority on this Infernal Drake spawning in 10 seconds. They may pick up their second dragon of the series. I guess second dragon of the game, third dragon of the series. We'll have to see. Is Antibiotics in a bit of a rough spot?
BLT, I think you just make the... I don't think you commit to this. I think you just wait. Unless they can grab the Vel'Koz and knock him down, he's dead. That's an uneven fight right now. They want to try and grab the Vlad. He's already so low. He goes down. Oh, no. Goon Squad, you were doing so well, but now 2 core members are down. Booty Muncher just trying to buy a little bit of space and delay this ultimate, delay this fight, but there's not enough damage, not enough health. BLT, huge job. They're going to collect all 5. They're going to collect the Infernal Soul and go get a Baron. BLT find their moment.
Yeah, unfortunately, the Drake taken slightly before that fight did kick off. But one thing I really want to mention is Antibiotics on the back line fighting Goon Master that entire fight and did manage to pick him off, but not able to get that Lucian activated in that team fight means that it just goes so horribly wrong for the side of Goon Squad. Even though Killer Watermelon trying to do the same thing to Carol, it just did not matter nearly as much because, of course, Philly Rat standing in the middle of multiple people, just making life miserable in that team fight.
Yeah, and I think at the start of that fight, too, what went horrifically wrong was the fact that obviously the Vel'Koz gets grabbed at the very beginning, so there's at least a little bit of damage that they're missing, but also just being a member down means that it's one less thing that your opponent has to deal with as far as picking a target, and then at the very beginning, currently Gooning, getting blasted, that health bar just deleted in a second, had nothing to work with, couldn't get in range to get any of that sustain, and obviously the heal cutting on the side of BLT doing a massive job to limit him. And so just a moment where BLT were able to split that team fight, catch a member out, and then snowball that into a massive team fight win. As I incorrectly highlighted that the Dragon went over to the wrong person, as Goon Squad had already picked that up. But now with BLT wearing Baron, I'd like to see them transfer this into something where they're able to pick up these turrets, these added tier 2 turrets. I'd like to see them stay grouped. Because I think that they do need to be very, very close to one another. Otherwise, they're going to get picked up by Goon Squad.
Yeah, for sure. Goon Squad still trying to put Booty Muncher and currently Gooning in those side lanes, which I think is the correct call. Killer Watermelon looking for the angle here. Goon Master using the ult and the response from Antibiotics. They should be able to take this middle tier 2.
Yeah, it'll take
they
them
need
a minute.
to do something quickly.
Yeah, I think they're really not that concerned about Booty. I think the Sion's not necessarily the greatest split pushing champion. They're going to send the Silas to deal with it. I think as long as they have Baron, they're fine to siege here. They're also sending Zanny to deal with the Vlad. I think right now it's okay for Goon Squad. It's okay for both teams. They're fine with the trades that they're making. Killer Watermelon makes this sustainable in the mid lane where BLT are not going to be able to get that much more. As Flame Dude's going to get tagged up there. His health bar getting dangerously low. That would be a nice little signal. Unfortunately, that ultimate was never going to work because they saw that coming from a mile away. It did BLT. Booty going to get a quarter of his health bar deleted for his troubles.
Yeah, Booty not that tanky on the side. Does have 2 items completed, a half of one in the bag right now, but A little bit frustrating. I don't think the the Rek'Sai is ever the target. They're able to just tunnel away or potentially even avoid it with an ultimate. And so really not a whole lot happening on that play in the mid lane. It was a good look though.
I think for me, what I want to see at a BLT is I want to see them being aggressive towards the spot side because the Dragon is going to be spawning at about a minute 30. They do not want to be second to this fight. They want to be setting up at a death brush to pick off one of the members, preferably either this Kayn or this Vladimir. I'm not sure that this is worth it. So it's a little bit of race to the top side. Double ultimates there. One of those ults is going to expire first. So a little bit of a comedic relief there on the top side, but I don't like what they're doing because now this is giving over pressure towards the spot side. Zanny needs to find the right target to ult. Wants to get as much damage down before he goes in that ultimate. So will get injected into the Kayn, and unfortunately, this is not really the trade that I think BLT would be making. Zanny, though, took a really good job sustaining. The passive does drop off now. Won't be finding anything for his trouble, so eventually is going to drop. The Kayn picking that one up in the end. BLT, not the right call, especially with Baron spawning, sorry, Dragon spawning in the next 30 to 40 seconds. Not what they wanted. Oh, this is iffy shot calling.
Going to be down. Is going to be down for that objective fight, but we'll have TP to be able to get out to it, so potentially could look for BLT contest. Pretty much, though, needs to be careful where he's walking. And we're starting to get a little bit towards the point of the game where gold doesn't matter nearly as much. Multiple members very close to full build completions, both ADCs. Only 2 items remaining for those champions. All right, though.
Yeah,
Let's go down.
Yeah, Ron's going to get knocked down, and unfortunately, this will mean that Dragon's not going to be picked up. Currently, going between the turn and a couple members. Wait a minute, that might signal the BLT have a chance. They have no jungler, but potential jungler trade if they can get over to the Dragon's going to get started right now. BLT and Co, they are running out. They know if they can get this Infernal Dragon, it gets a lot easier. Teleport out from Zanny. Even if they can't necessarily get the Dragon, they might be able to get the team fight after. Zanny's going to get over the wall, wants to try and CC up Watermelon. They want to knock down this jungler and prevent her from being able to get the smite. They take it away, BLT again! They've got the Infernal Soul, and they may have the team fight winner. This Watermelon nowhere to go. Zanny locked him down and made sure that he couldn't secure the objective. BLT, huge win, and the Infernal Soul is their reward.
Yeah, very good. Secure. The ultimate coming out from Zanny to keep that Kayn out of the pit means that he will not be able to use that smite at all. And good finish. Also, really good positioning from Antibiotics with that ultimate from Flame Dude. Did knock down most of Goonmaster's health bar, and Flame Dude's going to lose his entire health bar. My goodness.
All right, BLT, let's see what you've got. You've got really all the tools that you need to win this, even despite some of what Goon Squad has been making as far as their plays. Buddy Muncher is going to be wishing he wasn't here. They need to make sure they stay in front of this Scion. I don't think he has quite enough mana to get away with the ultimate right now, so we'll just be locked down. Question is, he's going to use the teleport. He's going to teleport his rear end on out of there, so got lucky with that. Manages to get to safety. BLT, though, Baron's going to be spawning here. They have the Infernal Soul, so they have all the tools that they need to win this next fight. But Goon Squad, they have been so scrappy this entire time, finding picks, managing to lock down Run It, which has been a big deal. So, again, as we were highlighting with this last Infernal Dragon that I wanted them to do, BLT need to be first. They need to be at this objective first. All right, Run It. Show me what you got.
I really think Run It does has not been doing super well on this this Rek'Sai, but has been critical in disrupting some of these team fights and some of what the Goon Squad wants to do. Definitely curious to see as they posture around this Baron how he can continue to do that.
Goon Squad, they want to wrestle control the way in this mid lane to make sure that they're going to be the ones that are there first to contest for this Baron. And the vision control between both these teams is really, really aggressive right now. Not sure why Booty decided to go ahead and channel that Scion ulti towards the mid lane. Oh no, I'm sorry, that was Antibiotics flash channeling that mid lane ultimate in the mid lane so that way he could choose something else. Also, don't back there. That's really not where you want to get caught back in. I was
Yeah,
like,
for sure.
I was like, there's no way he completes that there, right? Like, he's gonna get killed.
Surely not. I do one thing that is also interesting that I really want to point out. This game has been incredibly close in the gold lead, with Goon Squad just slightly above BLT for most of it. But despite how well certain members have been doing on both teams, the gold lead is incredibly close. As currently Gooning has to flash.
Yeah. Not what you want to see. Goon Squad, it's all these little incremental things. It's like, when you get in situations like this where clearly the game is on a knife's edge and it's all about the one or two things that you do wrong, like losing a flash like that makes a world of difference. And the Vlad, who's like his whole goal is to get on the back line, now that job just becomes that much harder, knowing that you're not going to have that ability. He does still have the ghost, but really that ghost is to get away if he gets in a bad spot. It's not really going to give him the access that he wants on that backside. And so Goon Squad, or sorry, rather for BLT, it'll be easier to lock that Vladimir down. And I think for BLT, they need to go ahead and try and make this play towards the Baron because Booty does not have access towards does not have access to the teleport, so he's going to have to manually walk down here. But you can see like how tense this game is for both teams because neither are willing to overcommit to this objective.
Yeah, definitely on a knife's edge. Has been for this entire game. Neither one really able to find that breakout moment. Just been back and forth between these two teams and multiple members. Now, Goon Squad does have a member who's backing, and this is really bad. Thankfully, does not complete that reset, but it may just be a case of Killer Watermelon trying to go for a steal.
Yeah, BLT cannot start this Baron. They want to catch Goon Squad doing it, or they want to win a fight before this happens. They do not want to get stuck in that Baron pit with what Goon Squad has. Specifically, they want to make sure that they're keeping Watermelon tagged up because they don't want him getting anywhere near either Carol or getting early access onto Zanny in a 1v1. But Elder's going to be spawning a minute 14, so I think BLT, now they're in an interesting spot because this has delayed so long. They can trade for either objective and be happy. I think if they get Baron, they can snowball that into something because they have the Infernal Soul, which helps them in their fight with Elder. If they get Elder, they're really less worried about the Baron going down, so BLT is in the driver's seat right now. Whatever objective they want to go to, I think Goon Squad's going to want to either have to directly trade for, or they're going to have to make their peace with trying to fight for something, which is not necessarily, I think, what they want to do.
And absolutely critically, Goonmaster does have that GA on the Lucian, going to be able to survive for a lot longer. Misery Loves playing with fire here, does have to flash.
This is a recall timing too. Zanny just recalled to the bot side. He has to go top lane to match the Scion. Okay, are Goon Squad making the decision? Okay, they're not. I was going to wonder if they were making the decision to sacrifice the Scion to get early access or just go ahead and trade for the Dragon. Which it doesn't seem like they are because he's going to walk out of there. So they're not at least sacrificing him. They're going to leave him in that top side. Their goal right now is to pull BLT between two spots. You either respond to the Scion, who's going to run it towards in the top lane, or you're going to sacrifice the Elder Dragon. You don't get both. And I think for BLT, I think they need to be fine with potentially losing the topside turret and going an inhibitor down. Nice flash forward from Ron. Got the knockup on a Flame Dude. Goes into the ultimate. Flame Dude goes into the stasis. What else can this Vlad get? The damage already done. He has nowhere to go. That's going to be the Vlad taken out immediately. A huge part of their damage. Killer Watermelon finds his way onto the back line. Goes to Carol. Maybe not the person he wanted. Misery wants to get away, but that's both the damage dealers dead. Now they can kill the remaining members. Channel the backs as it's going to be Philly making sure that the GA comes out. A little bit more damage. The Goon Master will go down, but meanwhile the Scion to the base doing such a good job. The recall not going to get stopped. Ronit's in the top side. And will Zanny stay to get that Elder Dragon? He is putting it damage, but he needs help. Ronit needs help on the top side. Huge team fight win for BLT.
Yeah, absolutely massive. Now, one thing that was critical to point out, Misery Loves did throw out the Seraphine ultimate. Did not land on anyone because currently Gooning used that pool, and that almost turned the team fight in the favor of Goon Squad, but unfortunately just multiple members not being able to find the correct targets.
What is this?
Putting on your TPs towards this bottom side.
Oh, this is not where you want to be. This is not where you want to win, Booty Muncher. You absolutely don't have anything to do with this. You will not be able to steal this away if you get involved in this team fight. It's an AoE. Maybe he just wants to see if he can potentially steal it away. 7,000, 6,000. This Elder is starting to take away. They need to focus Booty to make sure he can't decimating smash steal. Antibiotics is joined in. Is there going to be a steal another way? No! As that's going to be the Elder given over, and that may just be the game. Goon Squad, they lose the Elder off of a top lane push. BLT, do they finally have what they need? Can they run towards the Baron? The answer is yes. Ronit wants to run down. The Vladimir wants to put the final touches on this game, but he needs a little bit of help. Can't be too far forward. Forces the flash out of the Vladimir. Now Goon Squad, they have to back off. This is a Elder-empowered Infernal Soul. The Baron going to be going the way towards BLT for sure. Zanny doesn't even want to wait for that, though. He wants to get towards the backside. Killer Watermelon. His Force is finally a nice ultimate from Misery. Is going to help lock down this Kane, keep him away from the walls, wait for the Elder to do the damage. Then he's going to lock Kane through. He can go into the wall, so it's just a waiting game. Gets grabbed. A Q will help secure just a little bit of damage. The Elder Laser comes out, and BLT, after so long in a 40-minute game, will finally get what they need to close it out. They've got Elder, they've got Baron, they've got all the buffs in the world, and they're going to close out this game.
Yeah, finally finding that tipping point is this team, and they are going to... Oh, okay, Ronan going a bit aggressive here.
Yeah, just a cosmetic comeback here. Spot. Yeah, just a cosmetic comeback. That's all it takes. Booty is now alive, but he won't be able to do anything because he's got 2 mega buffs that he has to deal with. The Baron Empowered Minion is going to put the final touches. Booty's going to get killed for yet another time. You were off by your prediction just a little bit as that Vel'Koz died 7 times, but you were close, so it's the Price is Right rules. And speaking of the Price is Right, the price for BLT is just a little bit of pain and suffering, and they get a 2-0 win over Goon Squad.
Yeah, very commanding win in game number 1. Game number 2, a little bit more shaky, very back and forth between these two teams, but once they found the correct angle, my goodness, did they absolutely use it. And a good win from them, really. I think that Goon Squad have a lot to work on, especially remembering who their carry is, because they were not playing towards the bot lane at all.
No, they weren't. And I think, massive respect to Blacklist and doing what they needed to do to get a draft advantage, playing to those. Those games were very, very scrappy, throughout every minute. I think that Goon Squad showed a lot of moments where they could, come back into them. But Blacklist did a really, really good job of isolating who they needed to in this team fight, specifically making sure that currently Gooning and Watermelon weren't free to do what they wanted to in this team fights, locking both those guys down. And I think Goon Squad, they're going to be potentially looking at that draft and going, I wonder what we could have done differently, even despite the performance that the Kane and the Vladimir had. But for me, I think in terms of Blacklist, I think massive respect towards their overall performance. And I think for the MVP, I don't know. I think I'm kind of feeling it. That top side MVP for the side of Blacklist.
Yeah, I'm gonna agree with you. It's definitely very close between the jungle and the top laner, but I mean, to be completely honest, I really think Philly Rat just kind of carried both games, really creating a lot of pressure, creating a lot of issues for the side of Good Squad, and despite how well Ronit did with both of those Dragon Steals that he got, I still I have to give it to their top laner.
Yeah, I think I did agree. Like Ronit, those are some massive moments in both those games to keep their hopes alive, or at least keep those moments alive where they could contest. But I think just massive respect to Philly and what he did. So we're gonna take a short break. We'll be right back with an interview after this. Don't go anywhere because we're gonna be talking to Philly right after this. Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, we are back live with an interview. As I'm going to get this thing figured out real quick. We are back live with Philly. Fantastic job, man, in that top side. Fantastic performance across 2 games. How are you feeling?
Pretty good, man. A little sweaty, you know how it goes.
Definitely playing well in both those games. The Garen completely without deaths in that top lane, and you were doing pretty well there for a little bit on the Mordekaiser. Got a little bit iffy there towards mid game, but really creating a lot of problems for Goon Squad and running people down. So yeah, amazing performance from you for us.
Yeah, mid game first. Really, the problem was the Kane in the mid game. I knew it was going to be an issue when he got fed, but once I got past a certain threshold with the items, it wasn't a big deal anymore.
Yeah.
It was. Oh, go ahead.
Let's talk about that game 2 there for a minute. he talked about the struggles, obviously, with the Kane. We were kind of expecting that perhaps he was going to go blue Kane, and we're surprised that he wasn't really focusing more towards that bot side. Were you surprised of the amount of attention that you were getting top side?
No, because when I saw the Conqueror ruin when he picked, I knew he was going to do like cheeky ganks to get his red form ASAP, because it seemed like he wanted to win sustained battles through skirmishes.
Yeah. One of the other questions I wanted to ask, because I'm curious what y'all thought later on or rather early on in the draft, you guys saw the Vel'Koz come out. What were your thoughts about seeing that champion in terms of where it was going to go? Mid lane support, were y'all surprised to see it at all? Was this something that y'all had seen them prep and draft?
I thought it was going to support Vel'Koz just because in solo queue, that's the only time I see the squid is when it's in support. So that was my hunch, and luckily, because they thought it was going to be mid. But I was just thinking it was going to be support.
Yeah.
The champions, it's goofy. I don't know. It's fun, though.
Yeah. Honestly, for me, really cool to see you playing Mordecai as well. The ultimate at the 4th, your Dragon Soul, where you pulled the Kane out and basically gave it over to your other laners. Were you guys communicating that?
That was my call.
Or?
That was my call. I said, once I spawn, I'm going to teleport and take Kane out. I'll fight at about 3k, and I need Caitlyn to headshot it. And I think that's what happened. I don't know who stole it because I was in my other dimension or whatever, but yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, anyone else you want to shout out on your team?
Not my team too much, but I definitely want to shout out to Booty Muncher on the other side of top lane for jamming out with me a few times up there. I respect that. Good games, everybody.
Awesome. Well, hey, we appreciate you stopping by to give us a short interview. Go celebrate with your team. Congratulations getting y'all's first series win on the board, and we look forward to seeing more from you guys as the season goes on.
Sounds good, brothers. Thank you.
All right, cheers.
Have a good night.
I was about to be like, go away. All right. As always, final thoughts before we close it out for tonight.
Hey, of course, you got to come check out our TikTok, our Twitter pages where we'll be posting more content. And of course, the VODs will be coming out. And hey, if you're not in the Discord, why not come hang out with us? We're, I like to think of myself as a pretty chill dude. I know
Matrix is a degenerate. Stay away from him. Matrix is a degenerate. Everybody in this server is a degenerate. You're all going to hell. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, come hang out with us. Come hang out with us. We're interesting people.
Yeah, for sure. And you know what? I look forward to seeing this server expand and grow. I think we've got a great set of teams so far. I've loved all the games that we've got to cast. We get one more game tomorrow with Terminal Hairlines and Serial Inters. And you know what? I'm going to announce it right here and now. Albie has agreed to co-cast that game with me tomorrow. Yep. So make sure you do not miss that, because that will absolutely be a banger.
Yeah, that's going to be our second guest cast of the season. Obviously, Le Chifus was our first one. That went well. Obviously, one of the most requested was Albie. Everyone was like, dude, got to get Albie on the cast, so that's something to look forward to tomorrow. But for tonight, that's going to do it for us here. So I want to thank y'all so much for spending your night with us, as Matrix highlighted. Please follow us on our socials. Make sure that you're getting involved. Check out the VODs on the YouTube channel. Get involved in the server, and get ready for this next season as we continue to make our way through this one. A lot of exciting things come up. But that's going to do it for us tonight. So thank y'all so much. Once again, we bid y'all a fond farewell, and we will see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.